If you could like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. We're starting a new disc. Oh, and look, episode 130 showed up. But we're going to start with 134. We're going to go in show order. 134, 130, 136, 135. It's just weird, this disc, this season. I said in the previous thing, when we did the 118, 119, 116, that whole big schmuck, that it wouldn't happen again. Well, obviously I was wrong, because it happened again. So anyways, this is the D. Louise Book Series channel. I'm Christina Kairos, Tina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no demons, no fancy stuff going on here. And all of my cats are pissed off at me today. So anyways, we're going to get started with Dreadnought. What? Sandy, what's going on? Come here. I forgot my glasses. Alright, so episode 134, Dreadnought. We start with Naomi Wildman in the doctor's sickbay, getting her child checked. Her child will eventually become a significant member of the cast and have a couple episodes go her way. And she'll also become friends with Seven eventually. And if anybody knows, I have seen these things. They're all over YouTube. I don't know how these people get away with it. Do they pay money to people? Because they're people that will talk about a show and they'll run the show. Like, yeah, I knew that. But anyways, and then there are those really sophisticated people that put clips. And my computer, my sister, that would be just too much. So anyways, we're doing it old school. We're talking about the launch. Naomi Wild is in sickbay. She's getting her chick kicked out. The doctor's there. Cass is there. So it's just a little dialogue between Cass and Miss Wildman and the doctor, and they're talking about baby names. So then we get called to the bridge, and they see pieces flying around. And Tom says, there's not much left of whatever it was. From the amount of debris, I guess it was a small ship, no bigger than a shuttlecraft. Kim says, I'm not reading any organic material in the debris field. It must have been an unmanned vessel, probably a probe. Any idea what happened to it, Janeway says? Tuvok says, the high residual energy signature indicates repeated weapon fire. Captain, the wreckage is composed primarily of duranium pili. Duranium? I haven't seen many weapons that could do that kind of damage to a duranium hull. Transport some samples of the debris to the engineering for analysis, Janeway says. Chakotay says, continue and scan, Lieutenant. We don't want whoever did this to catch us by surprise. Oops. So then Janeway goes to engineering. Any conclusions? Afraid so, Chakotay says. We've identified the signature left by the weapons fire. There's no question it was Cardassian. Cardassian, is Seska responsible? No, Captain, I am, Taurus says. Ha? So then we're in the briefing room, and Paris runs in late. B'Elanna is saying, I recognize its signature because I know this weapon very well. Chakotay and I got our hands on it when we were fighting the Cardassians. How did it get here? Kim says. Probably the same way we did. The last time we saw it, it was heading in the same direction in the Badlands where the caretaker picked us up. Originally, the Cardassians sent this thing to destroy a Marquis munitions base. We named it Dreadnought. It's a self-guided missile carrying a charge of 1,000 kilometers and another 1,000 of antimatter. Enough to destroy a small moon, Tuvok says. I lost my place. B'Elanna says, now add to that one of the most sophisticated computer systems I've ever seen. They made these missiles adaptable, evasive, armed with its own defensive weaponry. In other words, unstoppable. So how do we stop it, Neelix says. Leave it to the Cardassians to build such an incredibly advanced tactical weapon and then arm the warhead with an old kinetic detonator. So there's Paris coming in. Balana says, I've got inside and reprogrammed the computer hell. I just didn't reprogram it. I changed its identity. I made it forget about the Cardassians. Now it was working for the Marquis. We gave it a new mission to destroy the Cardassian fuel depot on Echelon 5, but it never made it out of the Badlands. We thought it had been destroyed in one of the plasma storms. So how do we stop this before it causes any more damage? B'Elanna says Dreadnought masks its warp trail with a randomized EM field, but I can modify our navigational sensors to cut through them. And what are we going to do once we find it? I get it back inside. I know all the security codes. I installed them myself, B'Elanna says. But the computer is intelligent. It has learned. It's going to give her a problem. So then Paris and B'Elanna are working in engineering. There's a lot of distortion in the upper frequencies. Better now. Let's try. Filtering out the ion radiation. B'Elanna, you must be really worried about catching this thing. B'Elanna says, Chakotay wasn't telling the whole truth. We didn't send Dreadnought on a mission against the Cardassians. I was the one who sent it without asking him. You were afraid he'd say no? After I did, he pulled me aside, and I was really ready to defend myself. I was so sure that I had anticipated everything that could possibly go wrong, even programmed it to warn the Federation ships to stay out of its way in my own voice. Your voice? Listening to the Cardassian computer voice was driving me crazy. I don't blame you. Anyway, Chakotay looked at me. I don't know him very well, and all he said was in that damn soft voice of his that I'd hurt him, that he thought he'd earned my trust and loyalty. I was so glad when it disappeared into the Badlands. I remember thinking, thank God it's over, but it's not, and if anything happens here because of Dreadnought, it's all my fault, no one else's. You took a risk, Paris says. You were thinking like a Marquis. That's a whole different life. Tell me about it. Alright, so we're back on the bridge. Kim says, I'm picking up the trail again. New heading 196 Mark IV. Paris says, I'm on it. This course is erratic. Are we sure we're following a single warp trail? Tuvok says, perhaps the missile navigation system is malfunctioning. It's been operating for over a year, far longer than it was designed to function. No, this is deliberate, Torres says. It's following one of the evasive patterns I programmed into it. It must have observed us following us. I think I've got it on long-range sensors, Kim says. No, that's only a sensor echo. Dreadnought's programmed to deflect it up to 100,000 kilometers from its true location. The next time you get a heading, look for a brief surge in neutrino emissions with a 100,000 kilometer radius. That will be the real thing. So then our trader on Voyager is talking to Seska's guys, giving them top secret information. Alright, it's time to fess up. We found a Class M planet, and the Dreadnought is heading by the planet, and it may do damage to the planet, so we've got to warn the planet, so we've got to fess up. My name is Catherine Janeway, Captain of the Federation Starship Voyager. And the other guy, we'll go to it in a second. First Minister Kellen, Captain, what is it you want? We have been observing your course for the last 2 days. Have you also been able to detect the missile on a parallel course off our starboard bow? We haven't been able to identify what it is, but yes. You have the right to know, First Minister, that missile is carrying a warhead with a self-destructive force that... Is this some kind of threat, Captain? On the contrary, we want to help. I find it hard to believe. Your reputation precedes you, Captain. We've been told that you threatened many races since your arrival in the quadrant. First Minister, we are aware the Kazon have been telling that to people. They'd like to prevent us from making allies, but I assure you, you've been misled. And now here you are telling me there's a missile coming towards my house. The missile arrived here from our quadrant due to a very unusual accident. We haven't been able to determine yet why it chose Rosca as its target, but my chief engineer is preparing to disarm it before it reaches you. Perhaps you're telling me this in order to delay our defense response. I have maintained communication silence and not given you any warning at all. That's true. Nevertheless, be aware that I'm placing our defense force on alert. I'd do the same in your place. End transmission. So they find Dreadnought and they beam B'Elanna into Dreadnought. I didn't realize the missile was that big. So she tries to check it out and she has a very lengthy conversation with the computer. She's trying to turn it off. Something's gone wrong with your programming, Dreadnought, and she's trying to bluff her way through it. And he goes, "No, there's been a self-diagnostic conducted every 14 hours. Maybe there's something wrong with your diagnostic too. And the target is Echelon 5." I said, "What targeting parameters are you using?" He goes through all this stuff. I said, she's trying to change it. She's trying to change everything, and the computer's not buying everything she's selling. I'll be ready to transport back in a few minutes. Acknowledge. Good work, B'Elanna. Sorry, wrong room. The Dreadnought's quantum torpedoes could be modified to compatible with our launchers. What about its engine components? Easily converted to Starfleet effects. We have spare parts for years. We could also download some files from the computer gore. B'Elanna, you can engage the Salvation Army first thing in the Paris to Janeway. The missile just took off. It's going to warp. Oops, I guess you weren't so successful, B'Elanna. And B'Elanna's like, "This is impossible. I completely shut the thing down before I left." Well, obviously, the thing has improved. It's a computer. It has a life of its own. This is the future. So then she tries to beam herself aboard Dreadnought again, and it's not recognizing her codes. So now they're firing upon Dreadnought. I didn't realize the bomb was that big. So they tried to fire on it. It didn't work. So Kim says we're being hailed by the missile. Unidentified Federation ship. Although this vessel is Cardassian, it has been appropriated by the Marquis. Please stand down your weapons. You stand down weapons and I'll stand down mine. You are interfering with a tactical mission against Cardassian aggressors. This vessel is programmed to respond with all necessary force to prevent any disruption to its mission. Dreadnought, have you resumed course? Hello, B'Elanna. Of course, we've resumed your safe departure from this vessel was confirmed. It was necessary response to your deception. My deception? You are participating in the Delta Quadrant deception. Explain, Dreadnought. False information has been entered into Dreadnought's navigational sensor array. Paris says, when a bomb starts talking about itself in the third person, I get worried. Why would I enter false information, Torres says. She's like, why would I enter false information? And the computer assumes she's being coerced by Cardassians. You've already identified Voyager as a Federation ship, Dreadnought. Your scanners must indicate this is not a Cardassian crew. Possibility assessment indicates you are operating within the parameters of a Cardassian Federation alliance as described by the Treaty of 2367, a treaty rejected by the Marquis. So when I was over there and you shut yourself off, you were lying to me? Acknowledged. I never taught you to do that. That's not correct, B'Elanna. Your tactical subroutine instructed Dreadnought to prepare responses for 39 potential Cardassian threats. The possibility of your capture and coercion was number 7. Dreadnought, is there any way we can prove to you we are actually in the Delta Quadrant? That is not a deception. The possibility of being in the Delta Quadrant 75,000 light years from confirmed location is negligible. The target is Alpha Quadrant. Target locked has been established. There'll be no further warnings. Terminating communication link. Torres says, the one possibility. I remember the Theron lock emitter. If we can get to fire at full power, that should disable the reactor core for 30 seconds. She's trying. She's grasping at straws here. So they got into a little battle with Dreadnought, and Dreadnought won. So now she's telling the minister, "Give us more time. We're still working on it. We have to fix. We have to make repairs before we attempt again." Um, I'm pleased to hear that we are projecting casualties of 2 million. It's the worst occurs. I've deployed our fleet to intercept this missile in a matter of hours. First Minister, we've analyzed your offensive capabilities. They are no match for what you're facing. You must realize that yourself. And what would you have me do? Sit here and wait for death? Uh, First Minister, we've always hated that title. My name is Kellen. I prefer that. Our chief engineer is trying to return to the missile's control room. She's still our best chance of disarming it. There's no reason to send your fleet on a hopeless mission. Yeah, but they're gonna try anyway. So then Harry and B'Elanna are in the transporter room and they're trying to get her to beam over to Dreadnought again. We don't have time for this. Don't worry, we'll find a way to get you back over there. We wouldn't have to if I'd done my job right the first time. You couldn't have expected every move it made. Why not? Dreadnought seems pretty good at guessing mine. It's only as smart as you made it. I'm not sure about that, Harry. Its programs are adaptive and it's accumulative data all this time. It spends every minute of every day thinking about new strategies, new probabilities. And I bet it doesn't spend much time worrying about that it could have done differently. All right, Starfleet, give it up. So then they successfully figure out a way to beam B'Elanna onto Dreadnought again. And she's trying to access panels. She's trying to do damage to it. And she's failing. There are 15 priority targets approaching. All weapon system at full readiness. Speed, full impulse. The Rakazian fleet. So then Janeway's contacting the people going, look, cancel your missiles. Get rid of them. B'Elanna's on Dreadnought. She's trying to turn it off. Cancel it, because if you don't cancel it, the Dreadnought's going to activate and it's going to shoot you and kill you all. So stop. And they're like, we're trying to defend ourselves. She's like, stop. You're only making it worse. Stop. So the other ships are firing on Dreadnought. Dreadnought's feeling a thing. B'Elanna's trying to do all this stuff. And I've got a question. So why don't she just unplug it? Why can't she just turn it off? It was just a thought. So then she decides that she's going to try and have the bomb explode before it reaches its destination. If I am being coerced by Cardassians, why would I be willing to sacrifice myself for them? Answer that one. Unable to respond, reassessing probabilities. Ah, gotcha. Why don't we assess those probabilities together? Remember how well we used to hypothetical games? Affirmative. Let's play one now. This is a hypothetical situation, Chief. Suppose I'm telling you the truth all along and you are really in the Delta Quadrant. Probability of being in the Delta Quadrant 75 years last confirmed is negligible. Hypothetical Dreadnought. It's a game, remember? Assume it's true for a moment. Assumption entered. And we're heading for the wrong target. Assumption ended. Millions of people about to die when you detonate. Assumption answered. Now explain to me how this might happen. If a key sensor program were damaged or deleted, databanks would be compromised. Just for the fun of it, let's look at those databanks. See if anything looks compromised. And they go look. So she's going through all the display, and the computer won't show her some files because they're top secret. And then she's like, pause the display. And what's this on the screen? It looks like a backup file. Computer, when was this file created? Stardate 464375. I believe that was before you and I ever met. Hypothetical game terminated. Probability reassessment complete. A new conclusion? Affirmative. Probability of being in the Delta Quadrant remains negligible. When the option is rejected, new probability assessment indicates that you have changed loyalties, B'Elanna. You are not cooperating with the Federation Alliance as described in Treaty 2367, a treaty which had been rejected by the Marquis. Dreadnought. Humanoid life support aboard this vessel has been terminated. Approaching targeting full impulse. Stage 1 alert has been activated. Initiating final detonation sequence. Determined to kill itself. Maybe she should bring up self-preservation. That might work. So he's telling her his entire planet is in a state of panic. And she's like, there's 41 minutes left. And he's like, what the hell can be done in 41 minutes? So then they show B'Elanna on the ship, and the ship is telling her it's terminated life support. So Janeway's telling everybody, I believe our best chance of stopping Dreadnought now is to set off a large antimatter explosion directly in its path. To work, it would take more energy than all of our protons put together. Or, more to the point, it would take a warp core breach. You'll be in charge of the evacuation, Commander. I'm not leaving you on this ship. Captain's prerogative. Get the ship with rescue crew to escape pods. I'll send senior officers to join you in a few minutes. We don't have time to debate this, Chakotay. So then B'Elanna's back on the Dreadnought. Voice analyzer functioning unable to identify. Attempting to activate systems. No additional presence detected. Check those diagnostics, Dreadnought. You're talking to yourself. I believe you're having identity crisis. Assessing central processor memory. Engaging counter-virus response program. Attempting to override program. Computer identify the target. Marnisha base on planetoid 441. The Dreadnought Cardassian depot on Asheron 5. Malfunction detected in targeting system. Attempting to correct. Negative. Target locked has been confirmed. The Marquis are now in control of this weapon. The original target parameters have been replaced with those of this target. The countdown for destination sequence will continue. Asheron 5 will be the target. The target does not conform to established targeting parameters. The detonation sequence cannot proceed without proper target identification. Ejecting antimatter part. Emergency ejection system is failed. Attempting to reinitialize all case systems. Assessing backup systems. Unable to access. Enabling backup overrides. Command pathways. The central processor has attempted rerouting. Janeway finally reaches B'Elanna and tells her they're abandoning ship and she wants to get B'Elanna out of there. And B'Elanna says, need more time. So then Janeway says, we're still abandoning ship. And Paris is like, the starboard thrusters are a little sluggish. Ease into them. Understood. Thanks for everything. Warning, self-destruct sequence has been initiated. Warp core overload in 7 minutes. Thank you, Tuvok. And everybody leaves. So she's back on Dreadnought again. Containment field integrity 41% and failing. Estimated time to breach. This vessel is programmed to respond with all necessary force to prevent any disruption in the mission. Unless I'm mistaken, you're out of options, Dreadnought. Analysis of your vital signs suggests you're about to lose consciousness, B'Elanna. I'm not going anywhere until I finish. When you cease your efforts to reach the containment field, life support will be restored. No deal. Warning, self-destruct sequence has been initiated. They're back on the bridge. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So then we're back on the Dreadnought again. Containment field at 20% and failing. Perhaps your Delta Quadrant hypothesis further consideration. Nice try. Who would have thought 2 years ago, after all those weeks we spent together, perfecting your program, we'd end up out here trying to kill each other. Probability assessment did not anticipate this outcome. Oops, wrong one. So we're back on the bridge again. The missile containment field is collapsing. They beam B'Elanna back. Janeway terminates the termination sequence, and we end in sickbay. So he's taking care of B'Elanna in sickbay. Janeway says to retrieve the escape pods and get the crew back. And that's where we end the episode. So hope you tune in next week for Death Wish and then Life Signs and Investments. And don't forget to check out If Then. If Then today is a little on the light side, a little on the funny side. I needed something. I just was going through some stuff and I needed a laugh. So we're going to go with If Then. And don't forget JD Rob, Eve Dallas on Saturdays, and unboxing on Sundays. I do not know what's in those boxes. I have zero clue until they are delivered. And then we divide them up for the different charities and send them out. And don't forget Flashback Mondays. And of course, my daily book reviews. Reading some good, interesting books this month. So if you could please hit the like and subscribe, I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you.